Welcome to Teacher Talks. I'm Maria Keffler.
And I'm Erin Brewer, and we have all of these topics are tough, but this one today is especially tough, I think. We're going to be talking about pornography and how pornography has encouraged kids to develop gender dysphoria, develop autogynephilia, and really to struggle with their gender identities.
As I started doing some research for a book and I wanted to learn a little bit more about pornography, I was really horrified by what I saw. And it started when I was in an online discussion group with actually many women who are lesbians. And one woman commented, "Oh, heterosexual sex is really scary and dangerous for women." And I thought, heterosexual sex is dangerous? What? But as I started researching, porn has gotten so brutal. It has gotten so I don't know of a better word than brutal for it, but what it is representing is women being abused. And this is portrayed as normal sex. And as I read that girls, even under the age of 18, are experiencing being slapped, being choked, having these really abusive things happen to them as part of a sexual experience, and they think that's normal.
Mhm. And it's not surprising that if girls think that having an intimate relationship with someone means being choked or being spat on
Mm.
or being kicked or hit or humiliated or having very painful kinds of intercourse, anal sex, really brutal oral sex, these things would really turn a girl off of wanting to grow up and be a woman who's sexually active. The other thing is that there's something called sissy hypnoporn is now something that's targeting young men. And it's that same brutal, very demeaning kind of porn. And it basically it has young men and it encourages them to identify with the woman who's being beaten and humiliated and abused. And so a lot of these young men who are developing autogynephilia, it's because they've been watching this pornography and that's sort of where their sexual feelings are going. And so for both males and females, pornography is really fueling the trans identification.
And it's so damaging for so many things, but I think this is also fueling girls wanting to not be women. I believe it was in a review of Abigail Schreier's book, the reviewer said girls are fleeing womanhood like a house on fire, because if you see, oh, this is what it means to be a woman, this is what it means to be sexual, is to be brutalized, to be denigrated, to be humiliated. I don't know anyone that would want to sign up for that.
No, and I think that if people, I mean, I think pornography, any kind of pornography is damaging. I think it's difficult for it's sort of like food. You are what you eat. Well, your sexuality develops based on what kind of images you have in your head. And the images in pornography are getting increasingly brutal. I've seen, stories about pornography where women are actually having to lick urine off the floor, are having to, swallow the spit that a man has spit in their mouth. These are incredibly degrading and somewhat dangerous. I mean, these
Mm,
are sharing bodily fluids at a whole new level.
mm,
And again, like you said, if a girl, and we're seeing reports because of cell phone usage, primarily that kids are getting access to porn at increasingly younger ages, that if they're seeing these kinds of images, it's going to really confuse their sexuality and their identity. Because what girl wants to grow up and be that woman who is treated in such a bad way? And I think about myself when I was a little girl. My stepfather subscribed to Playboy, and it really bothered me. I would, in the bathroom sometimes I'd look at the images, and those were, I mean, back then the images were very tame compared to what we see now, and yet those images really affected me. They really they made me feel like, the only kind of woman that's acceptable is one that's sexualized, one that looks a certain way, and one that behaves in a certain way, and one that performs certain sexual acts. So this pornography is ubiquitous. Teachers need to know that there's a good likelihood that most of the children in your class have seen porn if you teach grades above probably second grade.
Well, I know of a situation where a pre-K child who was 4 years old was introduced to it on the back of the bus by a kid who had brought in one of his father's magazines. So it's everywhere, and unfortunately, we've been taught that pornography is good and it's healthy. I've heard stories of therapists tell couples who are struggling with their marriage, "Oh, watch porn together, that'll help your marriage." It doesn't help anything. It's not a healthy thing. And another problem that we're seeing with it is girls who want to have surgeries, who want to have, maybe get on hormones or have transgender surgeries. We've heard stories of them performing porn and putting it on Pornhub, on OnlyFans, in order to make money to have these surgeries. And
It's
that's
really
so
been
horrific.
normalized. I mean, that's the other thing, is that this is now considered respectable work, that it's perfectly okay to engage in. And I would never want to shame someone who engaged in this industry, but at the same time, to tell children that this is a reasonable way to earn money is really horrifying.
Mhm.
There's no excuse for it. And I feel like as a society, we've accepted that it's just been so normalized.
Mhm.
One of the other things that I've heard is that there are girls who watch porn, and they're so disturbed by the way the men are treating women that they actually want to become men who then can treat women the way they're supposed to be treated, who can be treating
Mhm.
them respectfully and kindly. It's a very interesting psychological dynamic going on there.
Yeah.
Basically, they're wanting to rescue women from the brutality of what they see in porn by becoming sort of the ideal man for women. So there are lots of ways in which porn really can damage our psyche, and we need to be vigilant and make sure that we are doing the best we can to prevent children from being exposed to porn, but also be realistic and know that most of the children are being exposed to porn, and it's having horrifying effects.